Hello and welcome to another Monday live stream. Welcome, welcome. My name is Shane Olson and I love to sculpt stylized characters. And today we're going to be sculpting another concept from my good friend Josh Black. And this is not Obama. This is just a random concept that Josh came up with. It just so happened to look like him. It's not him. Anyway, I really love the shapes. I love the nose and, the facial stuff. So I just wanted to give it a try. Let's do it. So welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Just going to scale up this sphere. Hey, what's up, Neil? How are you doing today? Didn't mean to make a folder. Let's see. Just going to divide this up. Actually, I'm just going to do a dynamic subdivision, like I always do. Hey, Synopsis, how are you? Northern Ireland. What time is it in Northern Ireland? Hey, what's up, Mark? Okay, this sphere will represent his cranium. Then I hold down Control and drag this arrow down, and it will make a sphere that will represent the jaw, like the jaw area. The muzzle is what I like to call it. Hey, Johnny, how you doing? And we can drag this to the front. And I like to kind of make this sphere start to create the eye line, the jaw line, and all of that. So I can do an invert of the mask and hit Control W. I guess I could have just hit Control W on the upper mask as well, or the upper sphere as well. Doesn't matter. I just wanted them to be different colors. I'm gonna grab a really big brush and just start to move this around. This is a big move brush. Hey Matt, how are you? Gazi, welcome. And I like to squish the underneath here, start to form that jaw, then from the front, start to pull it together. And then I can clear the mask and I want to pull everything in to make the side of the head plane, like this. Okay, and then this cranium sphere, I typically like to squish it to be kind of an elongated sphere. It's more of an oval, I guess, like an egg-ish shape. Lord Luigi, how are you? Okay, and then if I use masking, I can just kind of go pop my mask back and forth, so I can sculpt one segment at a time. Okay. Hey Tolk fan, how are you? And with these eyes, the eye cavity, I kind of like to pull, I clear the mask and I pull them both in at the same time to start to create that eye cavity. Okay. So this guy has kind of a, if you look at his eye line, there's more information or more volume from his eyes down than from his eyes up. He's got kind of a shallow cranium, shallow forehead. That's what I'm kind of looking at. Sometimes you start with low res and you divide on ZBrush. Now you start with subdivision first. This is still low resolution, dynamically subdivided. So if you can see this wireframe here, I have dynamic subdivisions turned on. If you can see that right here. And that's a preview of what it's going to look like when it is subdivided. So it's actually not subdivided for real. It's just, so if I turn that off, this is what it looks like. And it's quite low still. So, but there's so many different ways to do things. Sometimes I will go right into a like a Sculptress Pro style mesh, which is quite more dense, or denser. I don't know how you'd say that. But it's got more more geometry there. But I kind of hop back and forth between doing low resolution mesh like this to do my blockouts, and I kind of push up against that until I run out of geometry, and then I start either I will Z-remesh my pieces as I go, or I will tessimate the surface if I need more detail. And it's not a linear workflow. It's just like when I bump into needing more geometry, that's when I do it. So it's not like, oh, this is the time, you know? Okay, so let's, I hope that makes sense. I'll put an appendage in here and flip it around like this. It's going to be his neck. Okay, and then I'm going to put a sphere at the base. Whoops. So sometimes if you ever run into that, the reason why it will swap out your currently selected shape is if you have your gizmo showing. So if the gizmo is showing and you select another primitive, it's going to replace the primitive you currently have active and replace it like this. Okay, so I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to hide the gizmo and then select a shape. The sphere up here. And then I will click and drag out a new sphere. And this will be his body. And for the body, I usually like to tilt it forward like this. And then stretch it out. USB Fig, hello. Thank you very much. Glad you could make it. Love your work's amazing. Thank you. Okay, and so now with this, I'm going to use Move Infinite, which will move everything behind the brush all the way through the object, not just the surface where I'm touching. I don't know who this is. I'm getting a lot of spam calls today. Popular. I don't know what's going on or who got my number. So then I'm just going to kind of pull this down. Sometimes I can get to the point where I make a collared shirt like this, but sometimes I run out of time, so I don't always get to that level. But I do like to block in kind of this bust shape just to give myself just kind of a reference for the volumes that he has going on. So see, I can see that his neck needs to be way thinner and longer. It's just a matter of, I like to tell my students, I like to do add react. That's my thing, add react. So you add a shape and then react, and you measure and polish and say, hey, is that fitting? Is that feeling correct? And right now, this is feeling a little too short. He's got a really long neck. Okay, again, I'm going to use Move Infinite so I can shoot all the way through here. And I'm going to pull his neck connection up. So he has kind of this throat coming out here. And then same thing, I usually switch back to my Move brush for the side because I don't want to shoot all the way through. I just want to affect the back of this neck where it connects right here. And right here. Sometimes you can smooth it down to just kind of even it out if you get too crazy. Okay, and again, I think I want to make the neck longer. So I'm going to use this mask lasso. Like this. Now if you do a lasso like this, I actually want the area that I just encircled, I want that to be not masked. So I can hold down Alt and add to it, which will give me this kind of white circle. And when I let go, it's going to mask everything outside of that circle. And then I can hold Control and tap on the surface and blur this mask out. Grab the gizmo, reset the gizmo by holding Alt and clicking on this arrow, and then just kind of pulling it out like this, making his neck longer. That feels better. That feels more like the concept a bit. And I can even make his neck skinnier now that I have it longer, just by using this move brush. And I'm just about to launch my new web page that I've been working hard on these last couple weeks. And then I'm going to run a little promotion. Hopefully, if any of you guys want to learn characters along with me, it's going to be a good promotion. So hopefully you can join. Need a suggestion? Trying to improve my character. I have all the knowledge of anatomy, but there's issue with finishing it. It just doesn't look polished. What should I do? It's difficult without seeing it, and I would need to see it and, you know, compare it against the concept if you're using a concept. Hopefully you are. And it usually is just a matter of finding the appeal of it and making sure it matches the concept. Can't wait to see it. Yeah, me neither. It's really close. I have a question. The Threadripper 32 core good for ZBrush? Yeah, sure. Like navigating smoothly with... I don't know why you need 40 million polys, but it should do that. Yeah. ZBrush is known for running on very light, like very I want to say potato computers. And it heavily relies on CPU more than, or GPU more than CPU, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm just kind of trying to work on the silhouette here, and let's get some ears locked in. I'm going to save this. Hey, what's up? Just in case. Okay. Save as. Okay. I have a spud computer. Yeah, it doesn't. The way ZBrush works, it's you know, behind the scenes, it can push a lot of polys without too giant of a computer. Do you do any keyshot workshops? Probably not, since your workshops are on behalf of Pixelogic. Yes, I do actually. I cover keyshot and keyshot rendering. In the very first workshop I ever recorded, I covered how to render in keyshot, and it still pertains today. That was like 5 years ago. Keyshot hasn't changed that much. But yeah, it's in there. And just so you guys know, I'm going to combine my course back together. I kind of split it up, and I'm regretting it a little bit. Wish I hadn't done that, because people are looking for specific training, and the way I designed it, it's all encompassing and all together, and people learn in different ways. And so I'm just going to combine it all back together, and thinking about just lowering the price, because of this economy is really hard to afford things. The reason I raised the price is because I added so much since I first launched, so it seemed appropriate to increase the price. But these days I understand that it's hard to afford stuff. How do you remove backgrounds from concept art in Spotlight? So in ZBrush, 100% black is alpha. It's considered alpha. It will just drop it out as transparent. So what I do in Photoshop is I will just paint out the background 100% black, And then I actually take, so all of these outlines are black as well. So in Photoshop, I'll actually take the value and kick it up so it doesn't go quite to 100% black. But then I'll paint the background out. Here, let me see if you can see it. There it is. So this is what it looks like in Photoshop. It just has a 100% black background. And then if you want to adjust the value scale, you just go up to image adjustment levels. And then you have this levels. You just grab this output level and you just roll it up away from 100% black. And that will bring all the values of your lines up so they won't get knocked out when you bring it in. All right. Can I make money only making 3D models for 3D printing? I don't like stuff for games. It's like everybody only thinks games when it comes to 3D art. No, there's plenty. Like a lot of people make money making 3D prints. Not really 3D prints, but toys, collectibles, things like that. That's a whole industry. Like Sideshow collectibles and Funko and all those. Graduate art school. Video game dev in 2022 with a focus on 3D model sculpting. Is there a difference between game ready and 3D print ready using ZBrush? So yes, there is a difference. Essentially, if you're focusing on 3D printing, you will tend to make sure all of your pieces and parts are not, they don't have air underneath them, especially for manufacturing for toys. So there's no undercuts and things like that. But the high resolution mesh is fairly similar for both game and printing. So when I used to work at Disney and on Disney Infinity, and we had to make models that would both become toys and become, well, they would become sculpts, like collectibles, and then they would also become in-game characters. So taking them to high res is exactly the same for both. But once you have your high res character, then you have to do retopology, UVs, and prep it for a game character. And then you would also pose it and prep it for 3D printing. So that's where it branches off to two different skill sets. Did Maxon buy ZBrush? Yes. It's no longer Pixelogic. Yep. Would you please explain? They purchased Pixelogic, so it's now owned by Maxon. But the whole team, the Pixelogic team, is still there and still creating Maxon, or still creating ZBrush. All the same people. Most of the same people, I should say. Some of them have moved on to other things, but yeah. Okay. So with this ear, I want to remesh it. And not too long ago, I learned that I can Z-remesh just one piece. So I'm going to do that. Z-remesh, crank this all the way down to 0.1. Hit Z-remesh. And why did it do that? Oh, I think I need to hide it, not just mask it off. That's right. Okay. And this is the low resolution. This is what it looks like, low res. So now I'm going to Z-remesh just this. It has to be hidden, not just masked. There we go. Okay. Thanks, Neil. What did I miss? Can't sculpt an ear to save my life. So perfect timing. From Hawaii. Thank you for joining me. Let's see, thoughts on sculpting. And so Caroline, you're watching the official Maxon live stream. So I like to keep the conversation to Maxon products like ZBrush and Cinema 4D and things like that. So I hope you understand. Need to hide the other, yeah, okay, got it all. And yeah, no worries. And I think a lot of people come in and are kind of a little overwhelmed sometimes with ZBrush. But once you understand it and learn it, it's not as bad as you think. But it can be overwhelming. Okay, so that's a good start for an ear. That's true. Okay. Now we can block out the Let's go with the eyeballs here. Now, again, I say this every single time because I do it every single time, but see how I tried to snap this eye to match the world location, and it snapped kind of strangely. And it's because it snaps to the last known location of the gizmo. So I need to show my gizmo and then hold down Alt and reset the gizmo so it's facing world. It's matching the world. And now if I go back and I drag this out and then hold down Shift to snap it, now my spheres will snap to the world location. Any tips on how to finalize a project? I struggle a lot on finishing a project. Any tips? That's a tough question because it depends on what the project is. And it's easier, it's so much easier when you're actually getting paid to do the project rather than doing it personally on your own. But if you like run out of steam and you just don't know what to do, sometimes it's good to post your artwork somewhere, like your work in progress, and get some feedback on it. Let's see, I'm going to split these eyes off into their own subtool. And once you have your own custom UI, things start getting better. Now, Chris and I also, speaking of custom UI, you can see I have a custom user interface right here. And I give this away over on my website at 3dcharacterworkshop.com. You can go grab it. And hopefully that will also help you kind of clear out some of the overwhelm and help you out. The classic workshop a few months ago, and I've just recently been able to really start. I've been wondering if I can do an upgrade to the new Space Penguin. Please send me an email to shane.olson@3dcharacterworkshop.com and ask me. Yeah, we can work something out for sure. Why do I only watch your live stream? I don't know. Why? Yeah, there's a lot of other live streamers on here that do some really great stuff. Ashley's one of them. Okay, let's see. Just going to put this eyeball in the center of this eye and just adjust it just a little bit more. I don't really know what this is going to look like until I push it some more and just start to adjust things. But now I want to put his nose in here. Again, see how it's like wonky on the side? Why are the brushes in the center bottom? What are the brushes in the center bottom that look like bar charts? Are you talking about these right here? So these are brush icons that I made because I'm old. And I need to see the profile of what the brush does rather than seeing a little sphere with some little cut on it, right? So if you notice, this is the profile. This is what the brush actually does if I use it and cut into the surface. So this is my detail brush, this is my pinch brush, this is my cloth and a fill. It basically shows you what it does. It's just the profile. You're talking about this? This is my multi-mesh brush. This is actually what I'm using right now. But look at it. It made his, I don't know why it did that when I went to snap it. There we go. Okay, shrinking it down. And I'm trying to decide what I want to do with the bridge of the nose. I think I'm going to just duplicate this, holding down Control, grabbing a move arrow and just dragging it up. It will duplicate it. And then just kind of move it into place and scale it up. Does Maxon have a discount for students? They do if you are going to a school that qualifies. And what's crazy is Maxon allowed my 3D Character Workshop to qualify for the discount. Which that alone is, it's pretty crazy and nice of them. But that alone makes the workshop worth the price. I mean, it's kind of the same price as if you were going to pay for a subscription for that long anyway. Okay. Oops. I'm going to change over to topological. And then I also want to put some nostrils in here. That should be, my page should be ready in the next couple days. So if you grab my free brushes right now, you will be on my emailing list and you will be notified about when my new page goes live and the offer, the special offer that's coming soon. Excited about it, actually. Hey Chuck, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Okay, bring this in. Okay, I think it's about time to merge some of these pieces together so I can get a better flow going from the nose up to the brow line and from the nose down into the face here. And then I can work on the lips and things like that. So I'm not going to combine the ears or the nose tip and nostrils yet, or the neck. I'm just going to grab, here, let's do a save. Okay, save it. I always save it before I do big moves like that, just in case I want to ever go back. Okay, so the things I want to combine is the cranium, this piece, and that's it. So these three pieces. But I want to combine them with more geometry. So I'm going to split hidden. So this is in its own subtool now. If you look at my subtool list, you can see it over here. So I have my head, I have all these extra parts, and the eyeballs. What was that email? Shane.Olson, or just, how about just support@3dcharacterworkshop.com? Can I ask why you don't work with Dynamesh and then ZBrush? Because Dynamesh tends to melt your objects, like it will shrink your objects down slightly, and it will remove some of your details and things like that. There's nothing wrong with Dynamesh. I just prefer to use this method, and I typically will use Tessimate rather than Dynamesh. So, for example, like I want to add some more geometry to this. What I'll do is I'm going to apply the dynamic subdivisions, which makes them real subdivisions, and then delete the lower. So now all of a sudden it's a lot higher resolution. And then this little slider right here is a Tessimate slider. And I can roll this down to the left and kind of even out the geometry like this. Okay, and now this is kind of like Dynamesh, but it doesn't move the mesh around or melt it or anything like that. It just stays the same. And now what I can do is do a mirror and weld like this, so it's the same on both sides. And then I will do a remesh by union, which is basically stitches it together. And so with Dynamesh, you get all of that in one go. Dynamesh will stitch everything together, but it will also rebuild it. And so it's just a little more controlled, this method. Okay, so I'm going to, let's turn off symmetry for a second, stick this in the middle, reset it like this because I want to do it symmetrically, and in order to do this, you need to put your gizmo into the middle to do remesh by union symmetrically. Now I'm going to grab the gear, hit remesh by union. It's right in that gear, and it will stitch everything together just like this. So if we inspect our stitches where these things get combined, you can see it has these triangle stitches all along the edges here. So that's stitched, and if I'm happy with that stitch, I can just click on this gear again, hit accept, and it's done. And now I just need to remember to turn symmetry back on, and we're good to go. Add the at between support and the 3D character worksheet. Yep, there you go. Any tips for furthering my education as senior in high school, looking to be a 3D character artist? Right now I'm just doing ZBrush courses, but art school is my goal. So if you want, now, I mean, I hate to pitch my stuff, but if you want, I have a fully in-depth course. I have a lot of courses on how to learn how to make 3D characters and how to get a job doing 3D characters. If you go over to 3dcharacterworkshop.com, you can check it out. You know, I've had quite a few of my students get jobs after they've taken my courses. So that's one option, one way to go. But if you really are wanting to get into an art school, just look at your look at their placement. Like, ask about their placement, like how many of their students actually get jobs after going through the course. That's the biggest thing. Let's see. Why sometimes when I try to edit with Sculpt Pro, it's because it's very slow while Dynamics is turned off. Yeah, make sure you don't have any, make sure it's not very dense. Like, don't go any higher than this. You can go a little bit higher and it'll still work, but make sure you don't have dynamic subdivision turned on, and make sure you don't have any subdivisions at all. Okay, because it doesn't work with either of those, and that will really, really slow your stuff down. Like Neil said. Problem I have with Dynamesh is that it's based on resolution slider. I tried this Tessimate method once and never looked back. Yep, exactly. I mean, the Tessimate is more dynamic, so you can actually slide it, and it will cache what your original mesh looked like. So you can go up and down and dial it right in rather than kind of guess. You know, Dynamesh is kind of more of a guess, and you have to kind of go back and redo it over and over. So anyway, now that I have this, if I want to, I can just hit Control W, put the whole thing in one poly group, and now I can just use Sculptris Pro. So I can turn on Sculptris Pro. I'm holding down Shift, and this upper slider, you can kind of match it. Sometimes you have to go a little bit lower than the other one, and so you can see. Let me go a little lower than that. Make sure that dynamic is turned on. Adaptive is turned off anyway. Yeah, it is. Okay. So that's the thing. When I use Sculptris Pro, I make sure that I turn adaptive off. It's on by default. Okay, so if you go under Stroke, under Sculptris Pro, you can see this adaptive size. And what that does is that will tie your mesh density to your brush size. So that means the larger the brush, the bigger the triangle that it's going to make. Or the smaller your brush, the smaller the triangle. I don't like that personally. I like to set it to the scene, the scene scale. And so this slider right here is set to the scene scale. So I can go, if I want smaller triangles, I just move this to the left, and it will make smaller triangles like this. Okay. Or if I go to the right, it'll make larger triangles. And I like to have that kind of control. And so now I can hold down Shift and add geometry only where I want it. So like I'm gonna make his mouth right here, so I'm gonna add more geometry, and I don't need more geometry on the back of the head, so I'm gonna leave that alone. And this is really nice for getting the added geometry only where I want it to be. Okay. Any advice for art block? Yeah. So for art block, what I tend to do is I try to get myself inspired, and I do that in two ways. I either go outside and go for a walk or a bike ride or something like that, listen to some good music, take a break, walk away, and then come back. And that's That's kind of a way to reset. Another way is to go get inspired by other artists and what they've done. And what I do is I have several collections on my Pinterest page. I have collections of artists that inspire me. So I will go and collect a whole bunch, both 2D and 3D, and just whatever inspires me. And I will put them into collections, and I will go and go back and go through those again and find new art, and it just gets me inspired, and then I'll get all jazzed and I'll come back and sculpt some more. So let's see. First time watcher, do you go into making optimization for animation games and films in the workshop? Yes, Blaine. Yep, I absolutely do. Two of my character walkthroughs, Sirloin goes all the way through texturing and Substance Painter, you know, the retopology, the UVs, everything, and so does the Kate character walkthrough. Both of those, I teach how to take them all the way to game characters. Yeah, what is this outside? Love today's sculpt. Thanks. Thanks, Howie. Appreciate it. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of lock in a bit of brow. So when I'm doing this, I'm using a pinch brush, and this pinch brush, I don't have it be affected by Sculptris Pro. Pinch does not add geometry, it just pinches it together. So as you'll see, it's getting pinched together like this, but it's also stretching out the polygons. So I have to go back through with my smooth brush and kind of rebuild that area. I'm going to turn this intensity way down. There we go. And it will be kind of choppy but pinched at the same time. Go back here and then kind of create this cheek and smooth it down. Like Pinterest is getting filled with Eric. It can, you know, and there's, you know, I'm gonna say it right now. Some of the AI art stuff is kind of inspiring, you know, as grumpy as I am about it. There's some decent stuff that gets spit out because it's copying other artists, you know, that also make great art. So, you know, just use that to get inspired as well. There's nothing, and that's okay. Let's see here, maybe a little higher on that. Yeah, inspiration comes from everywhere, you know, real life, other people's work, anywhere. Okay, I'm going to turn on transparent, and I'm going to look and see where this eyeball is sitting in the head, because what I like, see how it's kind of, it's a little too low. If you look at it, it's a little too low. Because right now, if you look at the sphere, his iris would be right at the front, and it's too low. Rather than up here, he'd be looking up. So, but I don't want to put it any lower because of the distance from the eyebrow to the eyeball. So instead, what I'm going to do is grab the cheek and kind of pull it down and make some room for this eyeball. No worries, Blaine. If you have, like I said, my new website, my new page is coming out very, very soon, and I would like to think that I do a better job of explaining what's in the course in that new page. So, yeah, be looking out for that. Okay, I'm gonna give him some eyelids, and I'm gonna do the topology brush method. I'm going to turn off Sculptris Pro for a second. Not that it really matters. I think it just ignores Sculptris Pro when you're using the topology brush. But what I do is I like to turn on this transparency button so I can draw the upper eyelid right on the top of the eyeball. But would you take that AI stuff and use it as concept for sculpting? Not necessarily. I mean, you could, but what I usually do is I'm just like, I look at it because sometimes it will do a really, really good job with cloth wrinkles. And, you know, sometimes it will do an okay job with like posing and lighting and some anatomy. I mean, anatomy it gets wrong often, but sometimes it's pretty good, and it can be quite inspiring as well. So, but to straight up use it as a concept, I don't know that I would. I'm not saying that I never will, but I don't at this point. I don't think that I would, because it looks like AI art right now, and I have my feelings about it, where I'd have an issue with it. So I don't know. I can't say right now. I don't know. But sometimes when I look at that stuff, I'm like, dang, that's pretty nice, you know? Okay. So there we go. That's laid out there. And then I'm going to add some thickness to it. And the thickness is based off of how big the brush size is. So I'm just going to click on the surface and it will give me my thickness right here. Okay, and I don't want the eyelids to be in the same subtool as my eyeballs. So while it's masked, I'm going to take advantage of that and click on this split unmask points. Okay, that will split it off. And if I hit arrow down, it will move down to that subtool in my subtool list. So I split it off the eyeballs and then I hit arrow down on my keyboard. So you can arrow up and down through your subtools. Pretty nice. Yeah, you know, that's the thing, right? And it's kind of like because AI is just taking art from everywhere and anything. So yeah, it wouldn't really have an original concept to speak of, which makes things muddy, makes the waters muddy. So I'm just like, that's where it just gets confusing, right? And you can't, you know, the US legislature right now says that you can't copyright anything AI because it wasn't human made, but any derivatives you make from that, you can copyright. But I don't know what that means. I can't quite decide, and I still don't feel good about it. You know what I mean? Because I know where the source is coming from. Well, I don't know where the source is coming from, but I know it's being sourced by not kindly, I guess. Not kindly to my fellow artists that created it in the first place. Okay. I don't know if I'm making any sense right now. All right, so I don't want this to curve up like this when it's being dynamically subdivided. I want to crease these corners. So what I'll do is I'll grab the Z-modeler brush and hover over an edge, hold down spacebar and change this to crease. Where are you, crease? Did I not? There it is. Okay. And then I'll just tap on that and it will crease it. You can tell because it's a darker line. It's actually putting two smaller lines on either side of the line you just touched to indicate that it's creased. And now if I turn dynamic subdivisions back on, it will be a sharp corner rather than a loose corner or rounded corner. Okay. And then I want to give him some eyelashes, and I'll put like a little tube thing across there. But I want to work on just kind of this eyelid shape a little bit more as far as the head is concerned. So I'm gonna select this head and just kind of push it up into the head like this, and just shape that out a little bit more. Yeah, ZModeler's fun. It's good for really quick updates and changes to your meshes. I mean, you can model a whole thing with it if you really want to. But with characters, I mean, it's typically you're sculpting, and then once in a while you'll need it to do certain things. Okay. So now what I like to do is just take the detail brush and just gonna run a little zip right there. And smooth it back down just to kind of dig into the surface and shape his eye a little bit right at that tear duct. Okay, so for this nose, I'm going to split it off, join it together, and then shape it a little bit better. So hide it like this. And then we got it like this, and then I'm going to split it. So I'm going to split hidden. Okay. So I have this split now, and I'm wanting to join this together so I can do better nostrils and things. I'm not going to connect it to the head quite yet. And then I know a lot of you are probably thinking like, well, how do I know when to connect things? How do I know when to stitch it together? And honestly, it's up to you. I used to stitch the eyelids into the head, and I don't do that anymore because I really love the line that it gives me as a separation between the two of these things. And then sometimes I won't stitch the ear to the head either, and sometimes I will if I want to smooth out this connection point. Most oftentimes I will connect the ears, but sometimes I'll just leave them. It just depends. So for this nose, I'm just gonna, I like to keep it separate for as long as possible. It just feels like I'm more in control if I do it that way. I've seen a whole bicycle model in ZBottler. It was awesome. I'm still a Maya guy though, so I usually do quick stuff with ZBottler and finalize in Maya. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you know, right? I mean, I used Maya for 15, 16 years of my 25-year career, so that's what I know, and I'm comfortable with it. But I also, you know, I've learned ZBottler quite a bit, and so I'll use that when I need to. So it's probably easier for rigging when the eyelids are separated as well, right? Not necessarily. It depends on the look you're going for. Like with film, you will typically stitch them together because when the eyes are closed, you want it to be nice and soft and smooth when you don't want this hard line when they blink, you know? In games, it's kind of the same way. It just depends on the look, but you can do a whole separate eyeball if you want, or eyelid if you want. And then you can like just tie it to a bone and make that bone rotate up and down to make your character blink. It just really depends on the whole look and feel that you want to go for. So, okay. Excuse me again, this is kind of a rinse and repeat. I'm just going to apply the dynamic subdivisions and then go down here to geometry and delete them. Delete lower. And now I'm just going to use this Tessimate again to just kind of flood fill this nose to about the level that I want. Maybe something like this. And then do a mirror and weld like so. And then now it's symmetrical on both sides, and now I can join it together. So again, I'll just show the gizmo like this. Turn off symmetry temporarily, put the gizmo in the center, realign it to the world, go into the gear, and then click on Remesh by Union. And now it's stitched together. Click on that gear, hit accept, and now we're good to go. And I can hit Control W to put the whole thing in one poly group. Doesn't really matter. Turn symmetry back on, and now if I turn on Sculptress, I can smooth this out. Smooth this out down here and start to really kind of, I don't want this shape for the nostril. That's not how it looks. I want it to bring it down more. Just kind of carve this out. I'm going to bring this down as well. Let's solo it. Bring it down back here. Smooth it out. And just kind of push a nostril up. I don't like to go too crazy with it. Just enough to gather a shadow up in there. You don't want to call attention to it, right? That's kind of the whole thing. That's when you know that what you're creating is working, as if it doesn't call attention to itself. And it just feels right, you know? Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of a crease using this pinch brush. I'm going to turn my camera like this. Just put a tiny bit of a shelf going around the bottom right here. And again, this will start to stretch these polygons out, so I can make my brush a lot smaller. Hold down Shift and kind of rebuild these stretched out polys and make it clean. Do the same with the top here. where it stretched it out. I don't want to do this across the pinch line because it will rebuild it and destroy it. Can I be a pro in anatomy with just practice with reference for every 4 hours every day? Absolutely. So Ahmed, take a look. There's one of my students. His name is George Zaky, Z-A-K-Y. He's from Egypt, a younger kid, and all he did was study anatomy and blocking out characters. And you should see some of his blockouts now. They're absolutely incredible. So that is absolutely possible, and you should check it out. Yeah, George Zaky. Thanks, Neil. And he sells his anatomy blockouts on his Gumroad channel, so check that out as well. His Gumroad store, I guess, not channel. Yeah, in my main course, I have a module just on stylized anatomy you can check out. Follow him on Instagram. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, really quickly, just kind of give you a peek on the inside of my course here. So if you go in the 3D Character Workshop and you go to the Stylized Anatomy, see, this is where I teach. And here's an example of George's right here. But yeah, I talk about hands and heads and all the things that you need. Anatomy training, simplified blockouts. So if you're interested in learning about stylized anatomy, and I do go through female anatomy as well, not just male. So if you want to learn all that stuff, you can check it out. Hey, what's up, Eric? How are you doing? And I agree. Okay, so let's get to, I kind of want to work on some of the planes on his face here and sort of get some of these eyebrows in place. So I'm going to grab this H polish brush, turn off Sculptris Pro for a moment, and just play with just some planes here. Just try to. They're working on my fish creature paintings clothes. Nice. Okay, this is kind of tricky around this chin because it's such a small radius. Cut it back too much. So I'm actually going to grab Move Infinite, move it back forward, and then underneath here, this plane, it kind of made it a little warbly, so I'm going to pull it down and make it nice and straight. Comes down here, and then again I can hit it with H polish from underneath, and you can bring that right up to that edge. Just kind of clean it up and then soften it up. Planes are so fun. You guys follow Michael DeFeo. He just posted one of his most recent sculpts. He did this kind of Greek-looking guy, and it's got the funnest planes ever. It's really cool. I don't know if you can post that, Neil. Maybe find it and post it. Okay, I want to make his lips now. This is a little too heavy. Just want a little hint of a smile line going behind the nostrils here. Not too much. Okay, let's get his lips cut in. Trying to decide if I want to do it with actual geometry or just sculpt them. What do I want to do? I think I might put some geometry in there. then merge it together. Again, there's so many different ways of doing different characters, and they all call for different techniques, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to use a sphere. Let's bring it in here. I hardly ever do this. I mean, I've made mouths. If you guys follow me on here or hang out and watch my live streams, more often than not, I'll just sculpt them in there. Or I will use like the head to be the top lip, and then I'll put in another piece to be the bottom lip. But on this one, I kind of want to try. Let's see. You know what? I think I might do something else. I might try the whole mouth area, block that out as one big thing, and do what I've done in the past, and make this be like the top lip, and then duplicate it and make a lower lip. That way I can make it kind of come out. Like all together. Yeah, this is actually, Eric, this is my I think this is my most favorite way to make the lips like this. Yeah, like on the Wednesday sculpt. Yep, kind of like that. There's so many different ways, honestly. But that way is a lot of fun to me. Because I can control it so much, you know? It's all about the control. At the bottom of his lip, I can just start to pull up like this. Make it look like a mustache for a second. No, on this one I think I'm just going to mush it around. Turn Sculptris Pro on and just kind of flood fill this out. And then the reason I like this method so much is because I can kind of follow the shape. So the smile line ends kind of behind the nostril here. And so I can actually like physically pull that up behind there. Why is it not working? There it goes. So I can pull that up and look at how this is coming down right into the corner of the mouth, right down here. So when I get this second shape in there, it will meet up with this one. And then I can also run a pinch along this edge right here. That's a little too heavy. Let's tone it on down here. Maybe a 10. There we go. Just a light pinch. And so in the silhouette, you can kind of see, come on camera, there we go. You can see it kind of coming out from underneath the nose, and the lip peak here, and then kicking back. And now again, the pinch stretches things. So come back in again and smooth it out, fixing those stretched polys. Now I can just kind of go back over that pinch. It will keep it, but it won't keep it as clean, like as tight, and I can kind of pinch it again. It depends on the geometry that you want to have and use. You can see, if I zoom in here, you can see the facets, but if I pinch it, those facets get pulled together in a nice tight edge that will catch the light nicely. And then I can pull, like use the move brush and kind of shape this how I want it. And I'm like looking at this pinch line and how it's catching the light and pulling it down. Oh, Michael DeFeo. There you go. Let me pull that up. Thanks, Neil, for finding that. I got to show you the planes on this one. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. All right, check this out. Oh, I can't make it bigger. Dang it. Okay. Well, dang. And now this is stuck with his name on there. Why? There we go. Look at those. Look at the plane coming down from the eyeball, and then this underneath his it's just so great, and the side of his nose. It's just so amazing. I love it. Just all these little planes cutting in. So yeah, Michael DeFeo, he's great. He worked at Blue Sky for a while, and then I believe he worked at Illumination for a while, and then now he's at Leica, I believe. Okay. Yeah, he's a great guy. I've met him a couple times at different conventions here and there. Okay, now that I have that blocked in, let's do the lower lip to meet it. I'm going to save this where we're at now. Okay. Oh, thanks, Mark. Yeah, I tried and it just wouldn't go away. I don't understand. Oh well, not a big deal. You guys want to investigate and go check it out, be my guest. Okay, I'm gonna squish this a little flatter. Kind of get it into place, and then just kind of cover it with Sculptress. And then I'm going to invert the mask so I can hit Control W and assign a new polygroup to this. But now, once you assign a new polygroup, the masking will go away, so I kind of have to remask it. So I'm going to hold down Control and tap on the surface again, just to remask that, get it back into place. And then I'm going to, this looks awesome. Just kind of look at it like this, so I can push that geometry down and out. And then just pull this up into place, pull this in. Yeah, I just love the control you get with blocking out the mouth in two different pieces like this. You see, I can pull this right up. I can even turn on AccuCurve to get a sharper line. Pull that right up to meet the edge of that lip. Smooth it out. Okay, now I like to turn. So one of my favorite things about ZBrush is the trackball navigation, which means I can spin the model all around. Like with Maya and other programs, it's kind of locked onto the y-axis. I can only kind of spin it on the y. I can't really spin it around. So yeah, trackball navigation. I wish every program had it. There are a lot of programs that do, and you can turn it on if it's not on. But I hated it at first. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't a fan of it at all. And now I can't live without it. I love it so much. So it's one of those things you just kind of have to get used to. So let's see. Well, thank you, Julie. Sorry to bother you, but do you perhaps have any advice on blocking out? I'm currently making a character, but don't know how detailed to make the block out. So the whole purpose of a block out is to get all of the material there, all the volumes there, all the pieces there, so you can then measure and react and fix things and polish things. The detail phase will come later, okay? Now I am putting in a few little edges here and there, and that's just to help me. So the block out is just there to help you move to the next step. So it's not really a matter of like when to know when to put detail in. It's more of a, I hate to say it, but it's more of a feeling. Like when you need it, you add it when you need it. But the thing is, detail is I would argue to say is one of the funnest parts of it. And unfortunately, a lot of students will jump to the details too soon. And that's kind of not doing yourself any favors, because you want to have all of your block out there strong and structured and the volumes correct before you move on to the detail stage. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like those, I'm trying to remember how I put it, but no, yeah, I compare it to making a cake, right? And I say no amount of frosting is going to make a bad cake taste better, you know? I guess if the ratio is like 90 to 1 something, but so basically what that means is no amount of detail is going to make a poor blockout look better. So just make sure you get your blockout nice. Okay, so yeah, I'm actually liking the way this is turning out. So see how this is catching shadow right here? Just want to make sure this is kind of buried into the face enough that it doesn't do that. So it looks like it's a part of the mesh. And see, this is the control I'm talking about. I can pull this forward and pull this back to line things up better. Is there a video where you explain all your brushes? Yes. It comes with the brushes when you get them. So if you scroll down, you can see the videos where I talk about how to use them. Pull this back a little bit. I can start to get that. Grab Move Infinite so I can work on the slope coming from the nose. Let me see here. On this one, I just want to move this piece, nothing else. There we go. This is so tricky because I want this to go all the way up behind the nose, but I don't want it to cover that nostril right there. Thanks a lot for the advice. Love your work. You're welcome. Learned so much from you. Well, you're welcome. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Let's see. What's your opinion on making 3D models based on AI stylized art? I actually just had a conversation about that a little earlier in the stream today. I feel like for people like me that can't draw would be useful, but it's like I would feel bad from using AI art. Yeah, since it's very demonized. Exactly. So it's not really demonized. It's like literally, it's like stealing from artists that have made the art before. It's basically like a collage maker, like a really smart collage maker, essentially. It's taking art. And honestly, that's why I feel like 3D art will be slower for that to happen too, because there isn't enough data out there, like model data for AI to scrape from. Now, there's plenty of renders, like 3D renders to scrape from. And so it can make AI art that actually looks like a rendered 3D character, but it's actually not a mesh. It's just a render. So, and you can use the, so what I like to use AI for as far as like helping me out is I look at the lighting because it's really good at lighting because it's honestly it's sourcing from people who know really good lighting. And then wrinkles, like cloth wrinkles and stuff like that, some anatomy, some posing, like it's really good at posing and it's good at, I don't know how it's good at this, but it's really good at composition, color and composition. It's like, it blows me away, honestly. And I don't know how it's doing that. Like, how can you program AI to understand composition? Honestly, out of everything, that's the part that blows me away the most. Could we compare AI to really good fan art? Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on how good the prompt is and how good the output is, you know. But again, it's just it's a slippery slope at the same time. So I would use it like as a reference as you would use anything else as a reference. I wouldn't shy away from it and just say, no, I'm not gonna look at it or use it because of what it is. No, because it is sourcing from great artists for the most part. So use it as a reference. But I wouldn't copy it one for one. And you know, you can also use it to to give yourself some ideas and that kind of thing, but just be careful. All right. I don't know. I've seen it make some decent hands, Neil. It's getting there. Okay. So I'm going to start to, I think I'm going to start to color this a little bit. And there's some adjustments that I need to make in here. And usually, let's see. Okay. And I'm just going to grab some of these shadows and just fake it. Fake some of these shadows. I like to do that just to add some color. I'm going to turn Sculptors Pro off. Just going to warm it up a little bit. Maybe down here on the neck. And a little in this ear. Just for fun. Okay. AI basically words token compare on sequence of pixels. It seems reductive described like this, but you have to take in account size of the data. That alone makes up the complexity. Right. So that's what I was saying. Like, you know, there's not enough. There aren't any, other than like Sketchfab and things like that. There aren't any like big pools of data to pull from to create AI models, like 3D models. The only thing I can see is maybe like generating some kind of a point cloud, like the Sculptors Pro, like the little triangles, kind of creating some kind of a point cloud from an image, if it'll ever get there, and it probably will, to create 3D models from. But then it's got to make those models animatable, which is a whole different thing. And I wish they would have started with, like, you know, AI helping people make animatable models. Do the stuff that we don't want to do rather than taking the things away that we want to do. That's my biggest beef with it, I guess. Like, why are you starting at the end result instead of helping us do the things we don't want to do? Did you try to be accurate with your first sculpt, or did you struggle? I struggled like everybody does. Yep. Yeah. I honestly, I'll be completely 100% honest with you. I struggle with every single model, and it's only just diving into my experience and just my artistic knowledge of the past, and then just trying to get it to look closer and closer to the concept, and just my fingers crossed, hopefully it will pull out of what Ryan Kingsland calls the valley of the suck. You know, it's almost like every single model goes through the valley of the suck, and hopefully, like Shawshank Redemption, it comes out clean on the other side. Okay, select this nose. There we go. Yeah, every single model of mine that I've ever made, I feel like at some point it's not attractive, you know? And I have to work on making it better. Good AI for retopple would be more than welcome. Absolutely. AI retopple and UVs don't make money, but instantly creating a low yeah, total fan. Right? Right? I'm with you there, man. Okay. Now this is the benefit of keeping these separate. So I want to there's, if you measure from where the mouth is closed to the edge of the bottom lip, I made mine too shallow. So I want to pull it out more. Make it come out more. And add a little bit of volume. I can use my inflate brush. A little bit of volume in here. You have to love it at its ugliest to appreciate it at the end. Absolutely. You gotta love it at its ugliest to see the potential to keep going. That's the big thing, right? Do you use Maya to retopo? If so, do you use Quadra? Yes and yes. I have in the past. There are so many different programs now that do retopology, including ZBrush. And I think I haven't done it, but I believe Cinema 4D does decent retopo. I don't know if anybody in the chat has used Cinema 4D to do that with. And then they just barely added ZRemesher to Forger on the iPad, which is awesome. I've played with that a little bit. It's fun. Okay. All right, that feels better, I think. You know, I think I need to pull that up a little bit higher even. Yeah, I used to use that back in the day. But I was having some issues with it. Like when you're trying to put a loop around an appendage, that was screen space, and like it would stick to the screen and you could move the thing behind it, and I could never get it to behave the way I wanted to. Okay, I need to mirror this. Let's see, mirror it, then mirror and weld. There we go. I saw that these were different, giving me grief, so I wanted to change it. Okay, let's see, where are we at? 117. That's my current time. Love ZRemesher, especially if you prepare your mesh with polygroups guide. Only complaint is sometimes it makes those. Yeah, it does spirals occasionally, and it's getting better and better all the time as they work on it. And I think eventually it will get to the point where you can use ZRemesher as your final output. But right now, if you give a rigging team a ZRemeshed mesh, they're not going to find it very good. It's not the greatest. It's great for like quick look dev meshes. It's getting better, and I also think animation and rigging is getting to care less and less what the surface of the object looks like. So it all comes down to skin weighting and controlling all of that in a what am I trying to say? In a predictable way. What one has to do to get the first sculpting gig, or how do you start as a freelancer? I feel like I'm not too bad, but I have never been offered a gig in 3 years of making 3D stuff. I mean, that might be a little. It really depends on where you post your stuff and who sees it too. So, you know, post your stuff on ArtStation. Some of my students are kind of getting their start on Fiverr. Now, I have mixed feelings about Fiverr a little bit, because people on Fiverr expect a lot for very little. But it is a place where you can get started for sure. And you can say, "Hey, I did these models for people," you know. Hey, thanks, Creative. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I mean, that's an option too. Get your stuff out there that way. Networking is a big one. You want to try and go to conventions if you can. Network with people. Get your name out there that way. You can post your stuff on certain forums and things. Get your name out there. And then once you do get your foot in the door, it becomes way easier because people know you and trust you and know what you're capable of. So once you've done work with them, they tend to reach out. If they like your work and like working with you, they tend to reach out and give you more work. It becomes easier. Yeah, getting your foot in the door, that first job can be tricky. Squaring off the brow line here a bit. Okay. Now I'm going to put in the use my topology brush to make some brows. Just going to run it along here. Now when I first make these brows, I'm not really caring too much. I'm not trying to be perfection, just getting them in there. And then later on, I go through and adjust them. Fiverr's for cheapy customers, and it's really bad for 3D artists to work so hard for a little money. Right? That's the problem I have with it, right? The only reason I say it's okay is that it's good for practice when you're first starting out. Yeah, it's the super duper people want everything for nearly free there, so I said an artist never satisfied. Yeah, it's true. Okay, so I'm going to dynamically smooth this out, clear the creases. Okay, let's not make these skin colored. And let's shape them a little better. There's a couple ways to shape brows after if you're doing dynamic subdivisions, which is what I'm doing here. And what you can do is come in with ZModeler and add an extra line in here. Like so, you just drag it. Let's see, that's a crease. That's not what I wanted. I want to insert. Insert is what it's on by default. You can click and drag and get it kind of close like this. And now when I turn on dynamic subdivisions, you can see it starts to get sharper on the edges here. And I can do that as well along the top and bottom. So I can insert an edge and put it close down here and close up here. These are called support loops. It's a technique used most often in hard surface modeling. And you can see now it has a, it's sharper, but it still is soft in its own way. And now I can just kind of pull this and shape it how I want it to be. Whoops. Go back to move. I was accidentally adjusting the eyebrow on the opposite side here. Probably is going down too far the side of the head here. I want this a little sharper, a little more of an angle, like that. There we go. Okay, now let's put some eyelashes in. Even though he's male, you still want to put some sort of an eyelash in there. Typically, it helps a lot. I'm going to add it to. Let's see. Come on, select it. Let me save this. It's behaving strangely. Whenever ZBrush starts to behave strangely, just make sure you're constantly saving. So right now it's not, for some reason, it could be the brush that I have selected. Let me switch brushes. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to add it to, I'm going to add it to the eyeball. It doesn't really matter because you're going to be splitting it off anyway. Hey, what's up, Tenshi? How are you? Okay. Draw a line along here, a line along here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'll adjust it later. And I usually draw one at the beginning, one at the end, one in the middle, and then one in the middle of each of those. And then if I want to, I'll cut those as well. And then I can hold down Alt, drag another line and let go. It'll clean up all those edges. And then I can just adjust my brush, and the thickness of what this is going to end up is going to be determined by the brush size. I just click on that and it gives me an eyelash. Billy Eyelash. Okay, so now I'm going to split this off, split unmasked points. And then when I split off, it's still selecting the eyeball. So I just arrow down to select this eyelash. Do the same thing, rinse and repeat, just uncrease everything to get rid of the creases, and it makes this nice and soft. And it's already being dynamically subdivided because the eyeball that I drew it on was subdivided. Tenchi, thanks. I've been well. I was just telling everyone I'm about to relaunch my website. I'm pretty dang excited about that. And I'm going to be offering one-on-one coaching soon, like mentorships. I did group coaching for a while. I like that, but I kind of want to try one-on-one for a while and see if I like that. The same or better, worse, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so now let's give him some irises. Now this is always, I'm like, okay, sometimes I want to actually add geometry, and sometimes I just paint the iris on the eyeball. I think this time I'm going to add some geometry. I'm going to select the eyeball again, grab a sphere like this, and then squish it on down. Let's see, how thick is it? Maybe something like that, and just park it right on the surface there. That way I can kind of move it around, rotate it. And I want to bury it so the crest of the edge is actually like touching the surface of the eyeball, like that. Let's put it in perspective and see what it looks like. That's kind of fun. Okay, now I think I need to edit this brow right here. I want to pull it forward. I think it feels like it's being pushed too far back a little bit. I just want to try it. And a way you can do that is you can move the eyebrow and the head at the same time by, let's see if I had the right thing selected. I didn't. Okay. I actually need to grab the right thing, which is this. And I want to move this bit right here. I can blur that mask out, invert it, and then, all right, Thomas, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Okay, so I want to move the eyebrows and this like flesh at the same time. So I'm going to mask this out, and I'm going to turn on these transpose all selected subtools. Paul Gabriel likes to call this pizza boxes. Turn that on, and then I clear my selection so it's clear. And then I only want to move the head and the eyebrows. I'm holding down Control plus Shift to select both of those things. And you can see that the nose and the eyeballs and the ear and stuff is still kind of that semi-transparent look. So if I grab this and pull it a little bit forward, what that's doing is that's actually making a bit a deeper eye cavity without me pushing into the head. So instead I'm kind of pulling this whole thing forward. And I can look at it from the front, and then if I want to, while this is all selected, I can bring it down, and I can even like change expression and stuff. If I put the gizmo like right on the brow line, but it's going to affect all this flesh behind the eyebrow too, but it's kind of fun to like change it like this, move it around. I think I want to just kind of pull this down a little closer to the eyes, down and out. There we go. Okay, I'm a little happier with that. I like about ZBrush, my ancient laptop can handle about 20 million polys without crashing. yeah, it'll start to slow down. That's true. I thought I had some coffee now. Yeah. Okay. Now, kind of has this this short buzz cut happening. Before I do that, I'm gonna change the shape of the volume of his head a little bit more, just to bring that up, this back, kind of square it off, and bring it down so it's not so much of a crazy transition in the back of his head. And that way, when I merge these things together, I can just kind of smooth all that out. Well, let's look at it from the top. It looks pretty good. Yeah. Okay, his ears are too big, I think. Okay, so with these ears, now your gizmo doesn't have to be right on the surface of the object you want to move. You can kind of pull it away over here, and I'm just grabbing these little corner ticks will move along the plane of the camera. So whichever way your camera is facing, will move left to right based off of where you're looking. But if you are going to scale it down, it's good to park the gizmo from the point at which you want to scale it down to. And then you want to turn local symmetry on. So it's turned on right now. So it'll scale down to the point that you have it. I just wanted to shrink it just a little bit and maybe pull it a little bit forward. And maybe rock them back a little bit in space so they're not sticking out so much. Okay, I'm just kind of looking at this. I feel like his jaw is too far back in space. I'm gonna grab this now. Grab this move infinite and pull this whole thing forward a bit. Yeah. And then I can grab that ear again, pull that whole thing forward. His head feels a little too pointy, like it was like the doctor grabbed it with the tongs like he did with mine when I was a kid. Okay, I like that he has kind of these points on the back before it drops down. And what I can do too is kind of use the pinch brush to drive that a little bit. Just don't push it too hard. Maybe a little higher. Just to kind of pull it out, and then use move infinite to pull it out even more. And it kind of mimics the chin, but on the back side, and then I can smooth it back down. Maybe more turn up smooth so it'll smooth faster. There we go. You can also use smooth relax. So to get to the smooth relax, you start to smooth with the smooth brush, holding down shift, and then you let go of shift and it will relax. And that will just spread the geometry out evenly across the surface. I think I use smooth relax more than I use regular smooth. I think some people call it super smooth. Okay, now for these eyelids, kind of want to make them a little bit darker. So I'm going to go grab this color, fill them. They're a tad darker, and then it's also kind of fun to use this airbrush. And again, these airbrushes are available over on my website if you want to go grab them. 3dcharacterworkshop.com. You can go check them out. Just kind of fill this area in. And then I'm going to do the same with his upper lip. Maybe make this a little smaller. Maybe I'm going to grab the hard edge brush right along the edge here. And if you've pinched it like I have, pinch this upper lip, you can get a pretty tight line. Turn that down. It's already 10. Should be pretty good. There we go. Let's make that upper lip a little bit darker than the rest. Oh, really? Justin, that might mean that your normals are flipped on those things. Usually inflate, it will deflate. That's the opposite, right? Inflate, deflate. So might want to do that. Brushes are so cool. What are you talking about? The paint brushes? I like those a lot. Hey from Brazil, hello, welcome. Okay, I want to curve this up just ever so slightly. Give them a bit of a smile before I merge them together. I can just kind of kick that up. And then I can pull the mouth corners behind these two things. I can pull it into the head and make it a darker cavity. Which on your head, the darkest area is the corners of your mouth. Brushes. Oh, thanks. Okay, see, so now I can start making that really dark area here. And then tucking this out and around will make it even darker there. And I could, just to kind of support this line, you can run a line down there behind this if you want. Like for example, I can take the detail brush and just kind of run it, blindly run it down like this. I think it's a little bit closer this way. Just to kind of get that to curl around it. You need to create a fiber mesh brush and call it Herding Cats. I did make a fiber mesh brush that's curls. That's kind of fun. Yeah, fiber mesh can be like herding cats. That's why. But you can also wrangle it to do some pretty nice things. Okay. So for the hair, I was going to go back up to the hair. I'm just going to I'm going to turn Sculptris Pro back on and fill this area with Sculptris Pro geometry because I'm going to paint on it. And you want enough geometry on here to support poly paint. Okay, so I'm just going to even that out. Now what I could do is I could Z-remesh this head. I could, you know, merge everything together, Z-remesh it, and then subdivide it and paint on that hair. But on this one, since it's so close to the surface, it's just a buzz cut. There's a couple things we can do to try and mimic that look. And one of them is like this. Let me see what it's called. Let's grab my paintbrush, and it's under the stroke. It's called color spray or just spray. And then I'm going to try and grab this color. It's a dark brown and just try it. So basically, depending on your brush size, I'm going to turn Sculptris Pro off. It just kind of makes a garbled mess like this. Blah, 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 blah. And that, I mean, that's not the look I'm after, right? That looks like large curly hair. So I can go with give it a smaller brush and kind of do this on the surface. It's a lot of fun to play with. And I can do that with, for the most part, but it looks like it also has direction, right? So it's going from here kind of back like this. And I don't know if that's the look I want. So it's just a matter of trying a few things. Another thing you can do is this drag rectangle with an alpha. So I'm going to grab like this alpha here. If I do that, you get these spots. And this is more like the look I want, I think. And basically what I can do, I'm going to do, I'm trying to decide what I want to do here. If I want to start merging everything together or just paint it as it is. I think I'm just going to paint it as it is without merging. I was thinking about merging it with the neck, which I could do. I guess I could merge it with the mouth and everything, so I can smooth that out. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that before I paint the hair. Okay, so let's push a pause button on the hair for a second. Let's merge everything, because once you paint, I was thinking about doing it in a layer, and if you do it in a layer, then you're kind of locked out of merging stuff together. So I want to merge some things together first and then do the layer on the top. So okay, let's see if we can do that really quick. I'm going to save this as it is, again, because I'm going to be doing some big stuff. It's always a good idea to save it. Okay, so let's grab this neck. I'm going to, let's see, I think I'm going to split this neck off. Split hidden. And then Sculptris Pro the neck. Turn off dynamic. And just kind of run. This is a little too heavy, so let's lighten up that. And I could do the fill with tessimation, but I also want to smooth it out because these facets are so big. So what I mean is, like, if I were to grab this, move it to the left, you'll see that it still kind of keeps the facets in there. See those facets? It's kind of ugly. So instead, let's use Sculptris Pro and add a lighter, smaller thing, and then I can smooth it, and it'll smooth those facets down, make it look nice while subdividing it with Sculptris Pro. Okay. And then I'm going to combine the mouth, I think, in here. So then I can smooth this line out and smooth these lines out and make it all buttery. I could even combine the nose, but I think I'm going to leave the nose separate. I kind of like it separate because I like this hard edge line right here. It's kind of nice. Okay. So now let's combine. I want this and the neck. So I'm going to move the neck up underneath the head here and then merge down. So go to merge down right here. See, okay. Now these are all in the same subtool. And you want them to have similar density. So these squares are similar size to these squares. So when it stitches, it's not going to give you triangles everywhere, right? So now that we have those together, we're just going to go, and you can duplicate it. If you're afraid to stitch things together, you can always duplicate your subtool so you have something to roll back to, or you can save your file so you always have something to roll back to. Either way, just give yourself some safety nets so then you're not afraid to move forward with doing stuff like stitching, okay? Because this is kind of a big step that you can't really go back from. All right, so let's turn on the gizmo, turn off symmetry. Holding down Alt, click on this little center icon, and then click on this one to reorient the gizmo, and then click on the gear, remesh by union. We'll stitch the whole thing together, and you can come in here and kind of look at how it stitched things together. This is what I was talking about earlier, why I use this method versus Dynamesh, because the mesh really didn't change. The only area that changed is where the objects overlap, and it will also, just like Dynamesh, get rid of geometry on the interior of the mesh, which makes it watertight, which makes it great for 3D printing. Okay, so I'm going to hit accept. And now it doesn't look like it's changed. It looks exactly the same. If I were to Dynamesh this, you would start to see things like this disappear, and it would just, I would rather have the control and do that myself. So that's why I use that method. Okay. Now with Sculptris Pro still active, I can start to come in here and smooth out. Now this is too heavy. So I'm going to turn this, go down with this, try to find the size. There we go. That's better. So now I can just start to smooth this out and smooth this out, just start to get rid of these creases. I don't have symmetry turned back on. So I'm going to undo that, turn symmetry back on. Thanks, Neil. It always catches me, man. Always. Okay. Now I don't want to smooth out the corners of the mouth right here, so I'm going to stay away from that area. Okay, now I do want a little more power in my smooth. Okay. This is nice and flat, and this lip's kicking out nice. Just want to get rid of the mess in between there. Now the neck is all stitched. So I know that this smooth brush isn't going to be strong enough to do what I want to do back here. So there's this, I've said it a 1,000 times, I'm sure. There's this kind of hidden smooth brush inside of ZBrush, and you can get to it by opening up comma key to open up this spot, this light box, and then go to brush, and then there's a folder with smooth brushes in it. So you just find the smooth brush folder, click into that, and then there's this smooth stronger brush right here. And there are a whole bunch of these other brushes that I advise you to explore as well. There's also this like smooth peak, smooth valleys. There's smooth directional, which is really nice if you're smoothing along, say, length of a hair and you want to keep the creases along the hair, but you want to smooth everything else out. You can use that smooth directional. It's really nice. Okay, so I'm going to double click on that and say skip. So now I have this really strong smooth brush, so I can smooth out all this stuff that's going on back here. And remember, the ears are still not connected, so I don't have to worry about it. I can just hold down smooth and just kind of smooth all this out and join it all together. And super nice. Hey, Tommy, welcome. Okay, and what I can do is, thanks, Tommy. I actually give this away if you want it. It's over on my website, 3D Character Workshop. Go check it out and go grab it. Okay, so see how this still has this valley? I can grab this fill brush right here. And also I have to give a shout out to SK. He's another streamer on here. He made the original brush for this and the original cloth brush. I just adjusted some settings on it, but he's the original maker of those. So I'm just going to go across here and just kind of fill this in. This is kind of a clay brush that's smooth. I really, really like it. And I can smooth that on down so there's not this hard transition. It's just this nice, soft transition. And now you can see where the color of where I painted ends and, you know, where I connected it. So basically what I can do is I'm going to grab my paintbrush, select this color, and then I can just kind of come in here and paint this edge out first. I'm going to grab this darker color and paint it back in. Go all the way up underneath that chin. So it's kind of like faked ambient occlusion. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Turn on perspective for a second. I think that's a little too strong. I like 85. My user interface also comes with this custom menu. This menu is just full of the things that I use all the time, so you don't have to constantly dig down through the tool menu all the time. So, and I also put these headers in here so you know exactly where to find those buttons in the actual interface underneath the tool menu. This is just things out of the tool menu. There's a few extras like these camera things, but for the most part, these are things that are in the tool menu over here on the right. So it just speeds up your workflow quite a bit. Okay, I'm going to grab this body and kind of pull the geometry up the neck just so it has a little bit more flow like this, so his traps kind of connect instead of have this harsh 90-degree angle. Oops, I don't want a Sculptris Pro. I just want to smooth it. Whoop, too much. So that's smooth stronger for you to smooth the heck out of it. Okay. Hey, look, Lori, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's get let's get that the hair on there, but I want to kind of drop this peak down a little bit so it's not so high. Okay. Just kind of pull it down so it ends just a little bit lower, then smooth it out. Crank this up, smooth it out, just so. I like the peak of it. It's just a little too, it's calling too much attention to itself. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go back to the paintbrush and grab this darker color again. Okay, so what I like to do with hair like this is you can paint it in without this drag rectangle, just a regular freehand, no alpha brush, and just kind of paint this in. And I could add a layer, but I'm just going to do it like this. And I'll show you what I do where the fade happens. Okay, so from the side, let's do it from this side. Currently working on a dinosaur, but with the default interface, it's complicated. Yeah, absolutely. Be my guest. I believe I've sculpted a dinosaur or two during this live stream that I do. I do these live streams every single Monday. You can come by and hang out and ask questions like you do. That a little shorter. Maybe this a little higher. Something like that. Okay. Okay. The fade will happen somewhere around here. Yeah, I like that one, Neil. Like the dinosaur. See this guy right here? This is a cowboy riding on a dinosaur that I actually sculpted during the live stream back in the day. I don't know why I totally forgot about that. Hey, Gorbulon. I don't know if that's how you say your name. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so to kind of create a fade, again, you can just change your stroke type to drag a rectangle, change your alpha to like this spotty alpha right here. And then you can just kind of come down here, and I'm going to leave symmetry on for a minute just to kind of, you can just do different sizes. And across the center, I'll turn symmetry off so it's not so perfect across there. And what you can also do is grab the skin color and kind of go opposite. And you can turn off or turn down your RGB value, your RGB intensity, like to about half. And then maybe a little higher than that. So it'll be a bit transparent. Just kind of work through it like this and then go opposite with this color again. Let me turn off symmetry. Whoops. If I remember the hotkeys, that'd be great. Let's make it a little asymmetrical. Turn up my RGB again. Sorry if my tapping is too loud. I guess I should turn symmetry back on for this side, and I don't know if I like it there. Another thing you can do is go back to stroke and change to this this one with lines, and just grab a really light kind of this light skin tone, like in here. A bigger brush, and see how Josh has drawn these kind of line strokes like this. You can kind of go like this through it. Get that hair kind of, gosh dang it, I forgot to turn on symmetry. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to mirror it to the other side. Well, I'm going to get that, that'll get rid of my other asymmetry in the back. I can't do that. So I'm just going to undo this, turn on symmetry. Okay. And do it. Let me do it on this side. I like this because it feels very brushy, like a paintbrush. I can grab this color again, just kind of go over the top and then kind of come out into the skin a little bit if I'm careful. Just going to make it look like it's hair that's growing there. I don't know if I like that. Let me undo that. Went out too far into the skin. There we go. Just a little bit. Because you still want to keep it clean and make it look like it's not an accident, you know? Okay. That's good enough. Because you can do the same thing with the skin color and cut into it like this too. Or make a bigger brush. The bigger the brush, the bigger the hair strands like that. But sometimes that's not always what you want. And you can also, again, turn down the RGB value. Just sneak it into the front there. Give it some direction, but I'm also painting on this cheek right here, on those, because it's lighter. But that works. Okay. All right, again, I always run out of time before I'm able to make the shirt. But that's okay. Just gonna pull this up a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I'd totally add a collar to him and a shirt, and I think we're good to go. And I think what I want to do is his eyes, I always do this. I always make their eyes too wide and too far back into their head. So and usually I do this after the stream because then I notice it, but now that I can see it, before the stream is over, I'm just going to show you what I usually do. I just push this forward and I grab the skin of the face, push it forward to make his eyes not so long. Yeah, Casey, he looks naked. He's pretty happy about it. Just gonna shape his eyes a little better around there like that. And what I could do too is give him a little lower eyelid like ledge. How I do that is with the pinch brush and just kind of run it right along here, just so it catches light right here. Again, I'm stretching the polys. Let's turn this on. Maybe lower, like tighter polys along here. That's the beauty of Sculptris Pro. You can always add more geometry. Then pinch it again. And it shouldn't create so much of a mess. There, now the light will catch those lower eyelids. Give it a little light back here. Looks like I went a little wide. Let's grab the move brush and scoot it in. Okay, I think that is where we will end it for today. Olson, sorry you're just joining us when I'm about to wrap it up. Thinking of taking training character creation with ZBrush. Is the training for game character applicable for 3D printing of collectibles? Yeah, that's the same. So like I said before in this live stream, I teach this stuff in my online class. I teach 3D printing and game character creation. You can find that information over at 3dcharacterworkshop.com. I teach it mainly in ZBrush. And I teach both the printing and game creation, so you can check it out over there if you'd like. But and as always, I give away these brushes for free over there too. You can go find them, and my website's going to be updated very soon, within the next couple days, so be on the lookout for that. But thanks again for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. As always, I sculpt here live every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, so you can catch me here every Monday. Is character rigging a good job? Is there always work? Character rigging, people are always looking for good. They're called TDs, technical directors. And yeah, it's not a lot of people like to do it because it's quite tedious, but it's in demand because not a lot of people like to do it. But it's I did it for like 2 years. Yeah, so there's some good stuff out there to learn it. All right. Thanks, Ann. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. All right, everyone. Well, have a wonderful week. And happy sculpting. We will see you next Monday. Take care, everybody. And I appreciate you all. See you later. Have a good one.